We have a special guest joining us from the WGA, that is the Writers Guild of America, Jim Agnew. Jim, dude.
How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect. How's it going?
Good. Just to clarify, I'm not with the WGA, but I'm a member of the WGA.
Right. You're not officially representing the WGA. You are a member. You're a screenwriter, a WGA screenwriter. We've been covering a lot of stuff happening within the WGA. A lot of these DEI and DEIA rules. And I got to ask, like right off the bat, and I'm going to bring up some stories and have you comment on it. And we'll also take your questions and comments as well for the 2,000 plus people that are currently watching. Smash that like button. What do you think about these rules in general in a very short period of time? Like the last, I don't know, it hasn't even been 10 years, but the last more than 5 years, there's been a huge, I believe, an overreach from the human resources department to creatives. The human resources department that you pointed out, we had a text exchange, said the HR department that probably has no experience in entertainment. What are your general thoughts about this?
Yeah, I think the big reason a lot of this has happened is because TV became so big and streamers, and those are obviously corporate entities. So everybody's got their fingers in everything. And the last thing, look, I've made quite a few films. It's very hard to make a really great film. This one producer I know says a movie like Swingers is great because every single person involved hit a home run. For the lack of funds they had, Doug Liman hit a home run. The actors hit a home run. The writers hit a home run. That's the only way you can make a good movie. So it's already stacked against you to try to make a good film or TV show. So then when you get, all this kind of white noise coming from all these places, creatively, and then from people who don't know anything about filmmaking, we talked about that Amazon stuff, and there's a whole section about how you describe a character in a script. Everybody in the film industry who actually makes films and TV shows doesn't give a shit what it says. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to correct. Doesn't care what it says in that parenthetical after the character. No one sticks to that. That's the most unimportant thing in the world. And just to give you a few, I guess back to your question is, I don't know where this is coming from, but it's just not adding to making films better or TV shows, which we've all seen. It's more fingers in the recipe and more cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, well, it's always you and this happens on a film set because you've also directed films. You directed an indie sci-fi film. I think we covered it several years ago, and which was great. And it's you're always getting you're getting pieces of advice, and sometimes advice will come from an unlikely place, and sometimes things will change in the casting process. To me, one of the most interesting, castings that had a benefit was the movie Night of the Living Dead from 1968 by George Romero. Yeah. The lead character was a character in the script just named Ben. He was the smartest guy in the script. He was the guy the audience looked to what was happening. Not Barbara. She was sort of crazed off her rocker from that experience with the zombie in the beginning of the movie. And George Romero cast an actor named Dwayne Jones. Dwayne Jones happened to be black. He was just the best actor. It's well, he's the best actor. He's delivering this stuff. If you remember the 1968 black and white Night of the Living Dead kicked off the zombie genre, wrote all the rules. And everyone on the set asked him, he's talked about this many times. You can look it up. Are you going to rewrite the script? You're going to rewrite the script? Because, you cast a black actor. And he said, nope, not going to rewrite it. Not going to rewrite it at all. And you're missing opportunities to sometimes it's but when you explicitly are telling people in the script, they must do certain things. This is from Amazon's page. I think a lot of this has to do with the over corporatization of entertainment, which comes from big tech, which every industry that big tech moves into, whether it's hotels or the taxi cab industry, it breaks the industry. It takes 30% for itself, and it destroys that industry. I'm being dead serious. Look at any industry that big tech chooses, whether it's food delivery, everything, name it. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, let me just give you an example after we talked about this and looked at this. I was trying to think, how would I, pitch a TV show according to this whole guideline that's here. We see that Amazon and MGM are using. How would I pitch a film about a young, sexy FBI agent who gets help from an older man to solve the case, and the bad guy and the serial killer is a transsexual who was denied being, transitioned? How would I pitch that? It wouldn't exist under these rules. And you know what movie I just talked about? Silence of the Lambs. There you go.
Oh, that's right. That's effectively Silence of the Lambs. So this is the thing that bugs me is when I'm reading through this and people, it's this now. I don't know. Do you know this, that we did a video on this, Jim, and Elon Musk tweeted out the video?
No, I do not know that. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, we should have talked about it at the top. But yeah, Elon Musk tweeted out this video, the video that Alan and I did about this, what we're looking at right now. What it tells you is it's creating all these new terrible tropes. I saw the movie ISS, International Space Station, and it stars, the protagonist is a young Black lesbian woman who, by her identity, nothing is going to happen to her. And I was right. She, of course, survives. Spoiler alert, I ruined the movie for you. But yeah, it's unbelievable here. Race and ethnicity, it goes through different types for Black characters. For Hispanic, they're still using that term Latinx. I don't know any Hispanic friends of mine that like that term. They hate it.
Well, here's the big problem though with this. It's these people who created this think that just describing a character is a character. They don't even understand the medium. It's a visual medium. It's not how they're described on a page. It's how what they do. For example, I decided to look up a few other movies. Marion Ravenwood is described as beautiful, which you can't do here. But that's not what we look at when we see the movie. We see that she gets drunk when we first meet her. She's doing shots. She punches Andy. She fights. She does all this stuff in the first 5 minutes. That's the character, not what was said on the page of a document that's basically an internal document. These people are so caught up in things that don't matter.
Yeah, I didn't realize Mina was a thing. That's Middle Eastern / North African characters. Mina. Are they shown in violent situations, especially when linked to terrorism or religious extremism? Are they shown at the extremes of wealth, either as royalty, sheiks, or business tycoons, or at the other end of the spectrum, in roles associated with poverty or as refugees? By the way, all those things exist.
Yeah.
All those things
my friend says that my friend says they're in a sense anglicizing ethnic characters. By taking away what makes their culture unique, you now made them Anglo. You can't insist that a character or an actor do an accent, and so they have to basically do an Anglo accent, a white accent, and to me that just right there you're working backwards. From
last night too when we talked about doing this, I was like, look, I'll think of a few films that would be totally blown out of the water by these kind of rules, would never even get started, right? So I looked at, Tarantino's Cinema Speculation, which everybody should read. And every single movie and every chapter he talks about would not get past go on this list. Every single one. Bullet, Rolling Thunder, Taxi Driver, Getaway. Let's just get rid of all those movies. They can't be made anymore. They don't exist. And then I kind of went on a tangent, started thinking, V for Vendetta, you can't do. The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, the Godfather films, Fight Club, because you're talking about somebody with a disability. It just goes on and on and on.
It's and we're going to talk, we're going to pivot to other things related, but this is so specific. Who put this much? I don't know who wrote this original document, which I assume gets amended every once in a while to whatever new, language is being used. But this playbook is disgusting, and this needs to be rejected by the industry. Is people like yourself, people who are in the trenches, writing screenplays, writing the stories, need to push back against this and say, you know what? we appreciate the suggestions. We're not going to listen to it because, as you pointed out in our original exchange when I sent this to you, what are the qualifications of these people? You pointed out that like one of the women from the HR department used to work at Caterpillar, which is construction vehicles in HR. What does she know about story? Does she know who Joseph Campbell is? Has she even read the Sid Field book on screenwriting? Does she know about like different entertainment demographics, like different things? They just do, even different ages. There is so much. These rules will, if these rules are adhered to, it's going to destroy the industry, is my thought.
Or it already is. I mean, listen, I can talk about it because at the moment, for various reasons, which you can see, I'm not going to be hired by Amazon or MGM anytime soon.
Why are you not going to be hired, Jim? Why are you not going to be hired?
Because I'm a white straight male. Let's just get that out there. That's no secret. But the thing is, it goes deeper too. It's like it's a complete lack of understanding of how the film industry works, how you make films, because there's also a section in production where they basically say that a line producer should not use their crew they always use. They should expand out, hire new people. That's basically the line producer's job, to have an experienced crew come in and knock a movie out. If you told me to like bring in I've produced over a dozen films. If you told me to bring in half my crew as new people, and I'm responsible for $60,000, $70,000 or more a day we're spending, I can't on the job train a bunch of new people. You know,
that's something. Look, Martin Scorsese, right? He's worked with a lot of the same people. He's worked with De Niro. He's worked with Leonardo DiCaprio. He's worked with Thelma Schoonmaker, his editor, to dictate these rules and say you got to mix it up. Sure, you know, if Wally Pfister's not available, Christopher Nolan can hire a different director of photography, you know, or if Hans Zimmer isn't available, you'll get someone else for Oppenheimer to do the score, right? Hans Zimmer really wanted to do Dune, which is why he wasn't able to work on Oppenheimer, whatever. But there is, you know, there is a trust. When you develop that trust, you work with different people that you like to work with in a creative space, because you know $60,000 a day, that's crazy.
That's not an indie film. That's like a $2 million film you're spending that, you know, per production day. So it's like you hire some young kids because you have to, or you're forced to, who don't know how to do gags, and they can't blow a little charge on a car window, you know, to simulate a gunshot, and you're sitting there for 4 hours. You just wasted like, you know, a third of your whole day. So that's $20,000, but you gave somebody a new shot, you know? So that's even, I find even more insane than it's all pretty insane. I mean, it's just, you know, no one's going to go, all movies do not fit into all things. You know, if somebody wants to go write a Black lesbian love story, and that's their perspective, their point of view, they don't need all these rules. They're going to write that. But when you're writing John Wick 5, you don't need to like apply the same rules as some, you know, indie film. They're totally different things. It's like all things are not all things to all people.
You just get a sense that they don't know what it's like to make a movie, or to tell a story or anything.
You think?
You know, that they're sitting on the sidelines, you know, and have no empathy or idea that this is what happens on a set, and this is why, you know, you need reliable people to keep people safe, to keep the story moving on.
One other thing, sorry, I'm getting all fired up, Alan. One other thing is, it also says in this whole outline that you should not describe, you know, women as like girl next door or feisty or things like that. So the casting director won't be like boxed in. There is absolutely no casting director that works at a high level that is going to be like, hey, it says feisty, so I can only bring in feisty Latinos. They're the opposite. They push you more than anyone creatively. And they will come up with so many different options. So it's kind of insulting to casting directors on top of it. It just shows a complete, utter lack of understanding how things are made.
Well, it's just annoying that people who've never made a movie tell you how to make a movie. And it's
there's that too. Yeah.
There's that. We're gonna go to your questions in just a second, but I have one last question for you, Jim, before we go to the chat. Is on fire with over 2,000 people watching us live at the moment. But one last question. Does Hollywood push back against this? And do people like yourself start to speak out and say, we're not going to be bound by these rules. We're going to think about the audience first before we think about what's required on a corporate level. And are people going to push back and stand up? Or is a thriving indie industry going to emerge from people just getting sick of this? Because there are so many qualified people like you not working right now. And it's disgusting to me that to see this entire industry implode. So do people push back, or does a new industry emerge?
Well, I think, look, people like me, I can push back. I can do pretty much whatever I want. I've still been working last few years because I work mostly in indie films. I've sold TV shows. I've written pilots. You know, I've done it all across the board. But my main, you know, bread and butter has always been indie films. They do not care about this stuff. You know how indie films put together? If you write a script that can get Guy Pearce in it, you can get $4 million. It's that simple. It's no one cares about any of this stuff in the indie film world. It's all a math problem, dollars and cents, and then secondarily, you try to be creative with it. But the poor people who like came up in TV, which has become so corporate with the streamers and all this stuff is in there. There's so many decent people, qualified people that are not working, can't find jobs because it's just become corporate. It's become weird. It's become DEI. I'm sure they don't want to push up against it. You know, they want to, but they won't publicly, you know, because, you know, people whisper in my ear all the time. They're like, when is this going to end? This is stupid. I can't get a job. I got passed over for this. I'm doing double duty on this TV show because all the young writers are horrible, you know, but we'll see. I think the state of the industry is what's going to change everything. Cause what did 800 people get laid off at Paramount yesterday? You know, hundreds at MGM the other day. So it's like everybody I know who works on the more corporate side is like freaking out. So there's basically not going to be an industry, I think, in 3 or 4 years if it keeps going like this. And the thing is, this is why I speak out, because it's not going to be here anymore. And luckily, I'm older now, so I'll be okay without it. But instead of worrying about AI and things like that, we're worried about this.